My name is Jordan. I'm glad that you're here for this session. It's a really important one. The reason why I think it's so important is that the lessons that are being done, the conservation that is being done in Colombia and Peru and other Latin American countries are definitely transferable to the African continent. And I think you're going to be really excited to learn from Lina and Osmar about the things that they're putting in place, whether it's the tech or the community at the center of their operations. So with that, I want to invite Lina to come to the stage. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So today, I first want to congratulate the EarthRanger team for organizing such an amazing event. So as it is an opportunity for us to discuss, innovate about our daily conservation projects, and also the SMART partnership for the opportunity for being here. This is my very first time in the African continent, so it's very exciting. So today I'm going to talk about Saldaña River, a basin of life. This is a public and private partnership between National Natural Parks of Colombia. We have also the regional authority Cortolima and the private sector, Argos Foundation and Concretos Argos. This partnership, my main motivation to talk about this partnership is because it is a clear example of underground conservation in Colombia and the link between nature and people. So the talk is going to be first about talking Saldaña. I guess most of you don't know where is it. So the location and the importance, identify the challenges and goals. And here I'm going to follow the conservation standards methodology and map strategies and places, outcomes and measures, take action and evaluate and adapt. So first of all, Saldaña, so this is the map of Colombia, and here we have the Tolima department, and here in the right part you have these photos where you can have a look of the landscape. We have the Andean mountains, so we have lagoons, mountains, rivers, and we are working specific in 3 subbasins, which are Cucuana, Amoyá, and Siquila of the Saldaña basin. So the importance of the Saldaña basin is that it provides 49% of the water supply of the department of Tolima. It's the 5th tributary of the Magdalena River, which is the biggest river in Colombia. It supplies the irrigation district, which is very important for the production of coffee, rice, and also cattle ranching. And WCS Colombia in these last years have found at least 35 endemic and 18 threatened species, including 3 new plants for the science. We have 2 national natural parks here, which are Las Hermosas and Nevado del Huila National Park, and 7 important bird conservation areas. So it's a very biodiverse place. We usually use Miradi in WCS Colombia for stating our goals and our threats. This is not due for reading, it's in Spanish, but it's just to have a look of what we call the conceptual model. And here in the right, you can see the goals and the conservation targets. So the goal here is we take the importance of the Saldaña River and the threats, and we state that then the goal is going to be conserving the biodiversity and ecosystem services of the water system that provides well-being to the communities of Amoyá, Siquila, and Cucuana, the 3 subbasins that we are working. In green, you can see the conservation targets. So we have the big ones that are the ecosystems, Paramo ecosystem, which is very endemic from the south in America, and also Andean ecosystem. And we have also some target species. Our main character is here the torrent dog, which lives in the river, And the torrent duck is very sensitive to water quality because it feeds on macroinvertebrates, so it needs some quality of water. And also the water system, so the rivers, the sprouts, and so on. Once we have our conservation targets, we also set our ecosystem services, and in this case it is the water provision, and also our basic needs for the community, for the well-being. And here the basic needs, we state them with a methodology that we use in WCS, that is the basic needs survey, where actually is the community that states the welfare, and then we evaluate in the time if we are affecting the livelihoods of this community. So in the left part, we have the threats, and in pink, and then in orange, the contributing factors of those threats. Here is basically about two things. First of all, unsustainable production of coffee crops and also cattle ranching. And the other one is about sanitary conditions that affect the water system, so water waste and garbage and so on. This then is a list of the threats, but also we have other challenges that has to be more with the partner and in this partnership, and this means basically, just to give you one example, because we have a lot of challenges, but just to give you one example, this area was where the FARC guerrilla, which is the most important group in the violence history of Colombia, was born. So working here, is very difficult because there is a lot of conflict and, of course, a lack of trust from the communities. So once we set our threats, our goals, and also we do a stakeholder analysis, we can set them up, we can map the strategies and places, and there in yellow we have the strategies, and again here Miradi is very useful to see the relationship between the strategy and the threat or the contributing factor that you are going to tackle. And then we have 5 here, and it's very important that each strategy you think about how it can contribute to these threats. And then we have another one that is transversal, which is more about communication and environmental education. I'm going to talk about those strategies in a moment. First of all, I just want to say also that we have to set some outcomes and measures. And here is important to use other type of analysis. So we use Corrine land cover, water system spatial analysis for this, the National Restoration Plan to set the goals, and also the action plans of the government to see what we need to improve as well. So these outcomes and measures, of course, they need to be very realistic according to the budget and to the team capacity. So once you set these, you start with the action, and I'm going to explain the strategy. So this one is conservation and restoration. So what we do with the farmers and local community is that we actually do a conservation agreement where they sign the conservation agreement and they commit to protect the forests that are still in their land and release some areas for restoration. We also have 3 nurseries where we propagate different threatened species. The other one is more about sustainable production. So we already have 66 farms where we have either coffee, cattle, or pork production that is more sustainable. And we have already 66 farms, the families, they receive a technical assistance, for instance, in silvopastoral systems or biodigesters, or also systems of water, for instance, for coffee crops to reduce the contamination of the water system. The other strategy is more about adding hectares to the national system of protected areas of Colombia. And here we work with, again, farmers to do private reserves And we work this with national parks, and they ask to explain why these farms are important in biodiversity. So we've been doing already 8 biological characterizations where actually we found the 35 endemic and 18 threatened species that I was telling before, and also one of the species, one new species that is a plant species that is already published, and it's called Miconia lorenaensis in honor to the farm La Lorena, where is the family living now. The other strategy that we do is about water filters. So we give to the community these filters, and also what we call the tree filter, that is this structure that you can see here. There is a bigger filter for schools and for also villages. And here we use also septic systems for the house to reduce the wastewater and give technical assistance on this. And the last one, the last strategy is actually to support the 2 national parks, Las Hermosas and Nevado del Huila, that we have here to enhance law enforcement and also monitoring the conservation targets, in this case the Andean bear. And we use a smart tool that maybe you've heard about that one in this user conference to enhance this. And also we do the workshops on smart, we give the computers, devices, and all the tools so that the protected area and the rangers can do their work. So this one is the one that is parallel to all the strategies. So we do a lot of things here in communications and environmental education. I'm just going to highlight this example, which I think is great, and is the local communication group Amosiki. This is formed by 16 people from teachers, students, different ages, and we give them tools about graphic design, photography, interviewing. And they do this, what you see in these photos is local communication products. And this help us to be like a echo chamber of these conservation messages that we want to give and spread in the local community. So finally, when we take action and we have everything, we need to evaluate and adapt. And for this, we use this model that is down there about indicators. So the first one is benefit, state, pressure, response, and performance indicators. Performance are the ones that I was talking before. And then each of the indicators are related with the model that you can see here. So the first one, and I'm just going to give you some examples here, that we measure is the contributing factor indicator. So here we measure things like the change in cattle ranching production, also conservation agreements follow-up to see if it's actually working, and we do this in Kava Toolbox, which is great for surveys. So, and also we measure the survival rate of planting seedlings. So it's not just about planting, but also doing the follow-up to see if actually those individuals survive. The other one that we do is the threat or the pressure indicators. So we measure the change in the evidence of each threat per farm. And I'm going to show you an example next, how it helps us to adapt the information. And then the state indicators. So here we have the change in land cover, restoration plots line. So it's basically for all the ecosystems. And we have also the change in the torrent dock occupancy, change in the diversity of mammals. We do this with camera traps and wildlife insects, and the change in the water quality index. We use here a multi-parameter sound to measure, for instance, the oxygen of the water and see how it's in a specific place. And finally, we have indicators for human well-being, and we measure here the water quality risk index for human consumption. And here we take the water sample, go to the laboratory, and see if we have coliform E. bacteria, E. coli, bacteria. And also, we do water filter and stomach diseases follow-up in COVA Toolbox, and the basic necessity survey that I was telling you, that is a very useful methodology in WCS Colombia, and we do this in COVA Toolbox. Just 3 examples to understand how we use this information to adapt. This one is we were using 2 different filters, and we did the water quality index, and for both before and after the filter, we saw that after the filter the quality risk was reduced. But for the clay filter, it still were some samples that we had in medium risk, so we decided to stay with the other filter and give that one to the community. Another type of decision that we are making with this information is we have in the left hand the threads, and then up there you can see the names of the farms, and with SMART we are monitoring the evidence of the thread, and then we can see here if the thread remains or not in different farms. And this is actually very important now because we are in a planning stage where we need to see, for instance, things like the agrochemicals and how to work more with the farmers in this part. And the last example is about the torrent dog monitoring system, where basically what we found in 2021 is that the occupancy probability increases when there is forest around the river. And in 2022, we found that the occupancy probability increases when there is no logging nearby the river. So again, this is information for us to adapt and see what else we can do. Again, we are isolating, and we are doing restoration processes. So what we need to do is more isolations and see if the cattle ranching we can keep it in the grass and with the system of a silvopastoral system, and be sure that it works. And also working with the logging part with the communities. And that's what I wanted to tell. And basically, thank you for your time here. And also, I want to thank WCS Colombia team, which is the heart and the core of this project, and the people doing the hard work out there. And the different institutions, the people that we've been working in the partnership, Franklina Foundation, which is very important because they work with threatened species, so they actually include 3 endangered species in this partnership. And APC Colombia and the Ministry of Environment, both from the government, that support also the different strategies that we are working in this project. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Lina, for your excellent presentation. I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Osmar Yupanqui. I'm a remote sensing and GIS specialist, and I work for ACA, for Conservación Amazónica, which translated to English is Amazon Conservation. I'm going to be presenting our different experiences in conservation in the ground in Peru, located in South America. But first, who are we? What is exactly ACCA or ACA? We are a Peruvian nonprofit organization that has been working since the year 1999 on the conservation and enhancement of Amazon forests, generating different sustainable solutions, not only for researchers, but also for the local populations. Our 3 main pillars are the ones you see on the slide. We like to put science to work, we like to empower different people from local and indigenous communities, and we like to protect forests. Those are our 3 main pillars. And we form part of an Amazon Conservation Alliance. We have 2 sister organizations, one in the US in Washington, D.C., and another one in Bolivia. And we actively contribute to the MAP, which is the monitoring of the Andean Amazon project. This MAP project aims to generate news to put pressure to local media so they can enforce and face different illicit activities such as selective logging, wildfires, illicit crops, and deforestation. Where do we work? Where does ACA work? We have right now 3 different offices in Peru. We have one in the region of Lima, the capital city. We have another one in Cusco, and another one in the region of Madre de Dios in the city of Puerto Maldonado. Plus, we have 3 different biological stations. We have 2 biological stations in Cusco and 1 in Madre de Dios. Here we can see the location of different biological stations, which are located on the southeastern portion of Peru. But what is important about these biological stations is that we constantly welcome different international researchers so they can pursue a career in this conservation, this world of conservation. And what is important is that we are covering an altitudinal gradient, so we cover most of the diversity in this area. Now I'm going to be talking about our protected area, which is called Los Amigos, or the Friends in English. It's actually the world's first private conservation concession, and it was given to us in the year 2000. So we have over 20 years of experience managing this conservation concession. And as you can see, this area is quite large. It has approximately 1,500 square kilometers. So it's a challenge to handle this pretty big area. We have over 3,000 plant species and over 300 species of animals in the area. And as you can see on the map on the right, it's located on a strategic area. It's right in the middle of the region of Madre de Dios. So it was located there to act as a barrier against different illicit menaces, such as logging, mining, that has a really strong presence on the southern portion of Peru. So we like to enforce different activities on the ground to stop illegal activities from or to enter different national parks and different territorial reserves that have shown to include the presence of non-contacted tribes. Of course, to manage this conservation concession, we have many different difficulties. But our main problem right now and over the past of these years has been the selective logging. And this activity is pretty harmful to the forest because logging, there are many types of logging, but selective logging is a specific type of logging which looks to extract individual trees because they have a really high commercial value. And we have over 7,000 of tree species in Peru, but only 40 are commercially valuable. This problem, this activity is mostly associated with infrastructure such as logging roads and logging camps that we have found inside of our protected area. You can see on the images on the left panel that there is a very high resolution image from SkySat that has a 0.5 meters of spatial resolution, and on the right you can see the comparison of this activity on the ground with a drone image. Of course, we have also many challenges. We have challenges not only on the ground, but also from the space, from a remote sensing perspective. On the ground, one of our main problems is the accessibility to our protected area. Not only accessing to the concession is difficult, but actually moving from inside the concession is pretty difficult as well. We also face another problems. For example, there is no internet connection on the field. There is no phone signal as well. And since we have an area with primary humid forest, it's very hard to move inside of our protected area. Plus, the river is not navigable all year round, so we have to wait until it rains a lot so our rangers can move from one point of the protected area to another one. And this activity, of course, as you might already know, it's pretty expensive, right? And might be kind of dangerous, not only for ourselves, but also for our rangers. We also have challenges from the space, because this activity, this selective logging activity, is only detectable using very high resolution images, and sometimes it's not even detectable with those images, so we're required to put efforts on the field acquiring different drone images as well. There is a strong presence of clouds throughout the whole year, so sometimes the satellite images are not helpful to us on certain months. There is also a moderate amount of false positives because sometimes strong winds occur and some trees naturally fall down. So this pattern is kind of similar to selective logging as well. Another one is the visual interpretation to detect these selective logging activities. It's kind of complicated. It requires an experienced user to do that. And satellite images, as we know already, are very expensive. So we have taken, or we continue to take actions on the field by first improving our infrastructure. One thing that we have done and has helped us a lot is to establish different bases or headquarters. On the field, we right now have 4 different headquarters or bases. And it's also good to create a good boundary delimitation to avoid illegal activities from entering to our protected area. It's also good to have an appropriate signaling, and to improve the accessibility in our protected area, it's good to perform a series of cleanings, not only cleaning debris from the rivers, but also cleaning certain trails that our rangers use to mobilize in the field. Another solution that has been a game changer for us was the acquisition of satellite internet by Starlink. Our rangers now are able to send data and communicate with us on almost real time by using this satellite internet. Another solutions that we have found against this activity are more related to our rangers. Our rangers are fully equipped. This means that they have vests, they have hats, repellent, boots, everything necessary to go into the field and perform their activities in a correct way. They know how to operate different electronic devices such as GPS in reach. They know how to operate drones. They know how to read maps. They operate as well mobile apps, and they now know how to use EarthRanger as well. It is pretty important as well to have an experienced chief ranger with years of experience that acts as a leader for our newer rangers as well. And a strategy that has worked with us was the establishment of a small patrol groups that constantly monitor the field, and the addition of well-established protocols to address this illegal activity. This is our current workflow. So we have 5 different steps to detect this illegal activity. The first one is the planning. It is good to create a grid, a military-based grid on our protected area, and task the very high-resolution images according to our needs. After we receive the images, we perform visual analysis to identify this series of threats. And after we raise or generate that data, we like to publish a report so we can share with different prosecutors or even with our team on the field so they can know where to go, which is the step number 4, which is taking actions on the field. This means that our chief ranger will prepare a patrol based on the given information. And the final one is the response. This means generating a post-analysis about the findings and the false detections. Here we can see some pictures. Illegal loggers go into the field and extract very high valuable tree species, but they don't carry out the logs. They like to redimension the logs and turn them into wood planks. And they take heavy machinery into the field like the ones you see on the upper right portion of the slide. And we have had a successful case of addressing this activity a few years ago. We were accompanied by a local prosecutor, and we took him into the field where we catch real time some illegal loggers as well. And they got put into jail, luckily. Here we can see the historic cases of logging that we have found over these 80 years. And if we look at the histogram on the right, you can see that we have reached certain ups and downs in our findings using satellite images. So in the year 2018 was pretty critical to us. So we doubled the amount of rangers in the field. The year 2020 was also pretty bad for us because of the pandemic, and we had to send back our rangers into their homes due to national laws. And in the year 2023, we first implemented EarthRanger in a protected area. We have noticed that it is good to have a really strong presence of rangers in the ground to address this activity. And so far, our story has been told many times in local media. We have appeared in many journals, and we have generated many reports that have been shared with other international institutions as well. Now I'm going to be talking about our current use with EarthRanger in Los Amigos, in our protected area. This is a pretty small timeline of our use with EarthRanger. We first started our initial contact in August 2022. I would like to thank Eleanor Flatt from OSA Conservation for giving us a theoretical training in the use of EarthRanger. And on December of last year, we had the first presential training with the use of EarthRanger in Los Amigos. And we first started with only 5 event types. The next month, on January, we had our first patrol with the use of exclusively EarthRanger, and we received many feedbacks from our rangers. 2 months after that, we had another training in the use of EarthRanger, plus we included more event types according to the feedback of our rangers. We have now included mobile alerts to our decision makers, and we acquired on March Starlink as well. But now we have made many good advancements with the use of EarthRanger. Since all of our geospatial data is hosted on Google Earth Engine, we were able to drag those layers into EarthRanger using Google Cloud Services. We have included our historical database of SkySat images to EarthRanger as well, and we have added our drone images so our decision makers can see those results on real time, plus our rangers as well. And we have also added global layers, like for example, Planet, that has 5 meters of spatial resolution. Oops. Here we can see some slides about the different trainings that we have done on the field. I would like to thank again Eleanor Flatt from OSA Conservation, she's at the left. And we received many positive feedback in local media. And as you can see there, the feedback not only on local media, but in international media. I would like to highlight as well the excellent job of our rangers. We call them the promotores, which in English means promoters for conservation. We strongly believe that they can work effectively in any national park of Peru because they are truly experts on the field. They know how to operate drones and they can handle themselves well in the field. We have also included this year the first female ranger in our conservation concession, and she is quite good on her job. She, by herself, has generated over 20 EarthRanger reports as well. And now we can see our interface of the EarthRanger. We have done over 20 patrols this year. We have detected 77 cases of selective logging activity in the whole study area, but 64 inside of Los Amigos. We have generated so far almost 300 reports with EarthRanger. Here we can see some findings by our rangers. On the left, we can see some wood planks, some trunks of the trees that have been chopped down using chainsaws, and our rangers have evolved. They previously only validated our results from our findings from satellite imagery, but now they have evolved to generate geospatial data. For example, they now track some boa species or snake species, and below you can see a group of capybaras as well. And on the right, you can see one of the most harmed trees in our protected area, which is called the tornillo. This is a very high value species. Now, I would like to talk about the role of Servir Amazonia and how it has helped us to implement different technological tools to our EarthRanger interface. But first, I would like to describe the Servir Amazonia program. Servir Amazonia program, it's a joint program, a joint initiative led by NASA and USAID, and it has 3 main objectives. The first one is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and reducing the impact of climate change. They like to improve the management of different protected areas and other conservation areas. They like to secure the rights, resources, and health of forest-dependent communities as well. And I would encourage all of you to get in contact with the Servir program because they have many hubs on different continents all around the world. They have helped us to build a new service. It's called the Atlas 2, which is a machine learning approach and cloud-based platform to detect selective logging using open source data as well. The good thing about this model is that it generates really fast predictions. Within seconds, we can generate results, and on a very good scale, of a 10-meter scale of spatial resolution, and this works on the cloud, and is freely of use as well. So we want to drag those results from our model to EarthRanger as well. On this slide, we can see a comparison between the application of the model and very high resolution images as well. So we see that there is a good response between the predictions of the model and the ground-based truth. Survey Amazonia has also helped us to integrate data, geospatial data from other platforms into our EarthRanger. We have recently added SkySat, or historical SkySat image collection, to EarthRanger as well, as you can see on the left. Plus, we have included our drone data as well on the right, as you can see. And with Survey Amazonia, we have planned next steps. For example, we would like to include deep learning models that we have trained so we can display those results on EarthRanger as well. We would like to incorporate our model called the Atlas 2 to EarthRanger as well. We also have some GPS enriched that we would like to display in EarthRanger and link our different camera traps. We will also like to apply EarthRanger to other biological stations that we have. For example, we have an spectacle bear program on Cusco, so we would like to apply or implement EarthRanger next year to monitor this particular species. Thank you very much. I would like to thank again the EarthRanger team for this excellent tool, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our work. Thank you.
We still have some minutes for questions, in case any of you have one. So, anyone?
Thanks, guys. John Cox, WCS Africa. How do you deal with threats to your staff? You touched on FARC a little bit, but I mean, is there a threat from perhaps narcotics groups that may operate in the area, the intimidation, coercion? Is that something you've come across?
Is that the question for me? I'm sorry.
I suppose Lina mentioned FARC, so it was more of a kind of question in general. I mean, I suppose the question on, narcotics and FARC naturally lends itself a bit more towards Colombia than Peru, perhaps. But I'd be interested in your thoughts as well, because, I work in law enforcement strategy in Africa, and it's something that we deal with. But I know from talking to, Lina, of the same organisation, joint colleagues, that actually some of the intimidation that staff face over there can be, on a different scale really to what we face over here.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And yeah, unfortunately, we haven't overcome the violence in Colombia, even though we signed the peace agreement. And we have, in the territory, we have places. It's much safer, of course, than before, but we have places that we still can't go, or we have to ask permissions to the same groups. So it depends on where you are. But the important thing there is to work very close with the community. We are always with someone that is local, and we have security protocols to be there. And this is because we go to a very remote areas. It's not that in Colombia, in whole places, it's like that. And having like a really good confidence and trust relationship with them, so that we know everything. And when we have to ask permissions, we don't do it directly. We do it through the community, and it's not the person permission, it's the institution the permission. So basically, it's WCS can go there, or National Park can go there, and so on. So that's how we operate in the territory, but it's still a difficult, thing. We wish he's not there, Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. In our case, you were talking about illegal crop like coca for narcotics. So in our case, we don't send our rangers to address that issue. We have a drone specialist that operates a VTOL. So this device is pretty excellent for covering large distances. So he strategically goes into these areas to generate that data. So we can process that, and we publish a public report.
They might have, are there any kind of mechanisms that you have in the human resources space to give the staff that assurance?
Yeah, well, it's like everything we can report that, but it's not that, let's say, if you report that, it's not going to happen that much. So we prefer to be very cautious with the information. Actually, sometimes we can't talk about the information by phone and so on. So you have to be very cautious about that. But still, we haven't. So just to be clear, we haven't really had that kind of pressure that we need to report. It's just one time the community said, no, you can't come. We need to first talk. And then they talked, they asked the permission, and then we went back. But it was not necessarily that we need to, tell the police or the army or something like that. It was just that time. And as I said before, again, it's the community which we communicate very close, and that's very helpful for us. And there are some areas, as Omar mentioned, there are some areas that you can definitely go. It's just the drug traffic as well, and we already know which ones are those, so we don't work there as well. But I think apart from these kind of FARC groups and so on, I think it's also very difficult, like illegal mining groups, which is also another group that is very difficult, because actually we've been working in some areas where we couldn't go again because of some alerts. And in that case, we were working with the government institutions already, so we couldn't report to anyone else. We just had to stop the project and not going anymore there. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Really good answers, and thanks again for the presentations. I thought they were great.
Thank you very much.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.